Good evening and welcome to Let's Play Total War Shogun 2 Rise of the Samurai. Currently, Norioki and Shigehira are attacking the town of Kawachi. Now this is an unusual attack in that we are in fact slightly outnumbered and we don't have a large quality advantage. In fact, they have more attendants than we do, although we do have the Onabushi heroine. Unfortunately, heroine's not too much use when you're attacking an entrenched location which is staffed primarily by spear troops. The reason we are attacking is that we have demoralized the enemy army, and as you can see, their morale is very, very poor. 1 morale for the Bow Levy garrison, for example, and 2 morale for the Naginata levy. So no one's really going to hang around a particularly long time in this fight. So really our objective in this particular point is to skirmish them to death. They will run away quite easily, and then expend all our arrows and finish them off with a charge. Now, if we are attacked immediately, because our forces are trickling in half and half, we're likely to be overwhelmed, but I think that's pretty unlikely. We should hold with a suitably aggressive maneuver. Now, as you can see, Shigehira is coming in over this side here. Basically, the majority of our force are going to deploy across this particular ford here, and that's going to be where most of our damage is dealt. In addition, a small detachment will be sent to approach from the north via the bridge and this ford here, and that's simply to keep the flank pressure up. It'll also give us a good place to charge in the event of when we do finally decide to engage. Now, I'm just going to speed things up a little bit because it takes a while for our secondary army to get into position. One of the things that I found particularly difficult is that the bridge really played havoc with the pathfinding. Units would mess around on the bridge, not cross the bridge, decide that they couldn't get across the bridge and move all the way around, and just generally be a pain in the ass to deal with. Usually bridges are pretty good in Shogun 2, but every once in a while you'll just get a bridge that doesn't want to work. So our detachment here is Shigehira, Nagi Levy, and 2 Bow Levy, and they're to keep the pressure on this side. The main reason why I have the 2 Bow Levy up here and the 4 Bow Levy down here is I would prefer to have the extra Bow Levy here, but the angle starts to get very bad when you're in this side of the fort, and so really there's not too much use to having them there. Now, I'm bringing Onabushi heroine around the side, and the objective here is just to pick up stragglers that are coming through and maybe put some arrows into this side area here. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot they can do in this particular fight, since it's impossible to get a proper charge into the rear through water, and they're all spears or bows, and the bows can be very deadly to hero units if they're in range, as arrows will kill. Even though they have good armor, the loss of even a few units can make an enormous difference. Now, we've just opened up here with a nice round of fire arrows, and as you can see, we've only just started shooting, but the enemy morale is quite low. They're taking quite a few hits, they're down quite a few men as a matter of fact, and so we really just want to drive them out with a minimum of casualties. So to that end, we just basically bring our bows slowly up into range. Now they are higher than us, but the angle isn't too bad from where we're sitting. We still don't quite have line of sight, but there's not too much in the hillock, so we should be able to skirmish quite effectively. And the same on this side over here. As you can see, the Bow Levy are trying to move up into position on the far side, and 1 Bow Levy, the Naginata Levy, have decided they're going to use the bridge, and the other Bow Levy have decided they're going to run around the long way. So I'll just speed this up a bit as we skirmish, and you can see almost straight away that even though the unit's just over half strength, it's wavering. It doesn't really want to stay under ranged attack for very long, and this low morale is part of why this attack is going to be so successful. Basically, even though they are filled with confidence that their flanks are secure, they've just broken. Now they'll probably rally on account of the fact there's still quite a few of them left. This is one of the downsides of the units which rout early, is they do tend to come back, but that's not too much of an issue on account of the fact that they are weakened. To try to make sure they stay shattered, the Onobushi heroines have put some shots in, but unfortunately they've just immediately come back. Now this is a real problem, because they can be putting arrow shots into Onobushi heroines, so I need to get the hell out of there. If we're lucky, we'll make it out without many casualties. But, oh, as you can see, we've lost one from a stray arrow, two from stray arrows, so it's very, very expensive for the fact that they've killed only 4 men. It's just terrible, terrible situations for using cavalry. You really, really should only be using cavalry when you've got the opportunity to use them in an open field. They're very, very bad in a defensive situation. Now you can see they've tried to drive us off with a melee attack, but that's been immediately broken by the Naginata attendants, who have scored quite respectable kills, and they just didn't stay around any time at all, and they probably won't come back. They might not. These guys are probably going to shatter very, very soon, so really, as you can see, we're just whittling them down. We've got a strong ranged advantage. We can bring our ranged troops to bear much more effectively than they can. Our ranged troops are going to hang in the fight for a lot longer, so we're going to be able to just expend all of our arrows and soften them right up. So I'll just zoom further forward past this as we continue to bring our bow levy into place. Now, our northern bow levy, I've decided to... One's finally made it across the bridge, the other one's just going to have to run. There's not much to be done about that. And as you can see, this whole left flank's chewed up. There's really not too many men left. These guys, the bow levy, see, we've shattered some Naginata levy now. So we're starting to bring their units off the field, which is quite useful, as eventually we'll hit a critical mass of numbers where our charge will cause them to just shatter. Really, that's the objective at this point in time. It's just a whittling them down fight. They can't come out and engage us because, as you saw, when they tried to engage us, we just shattered their units instantaneously, so they just have no capability to fight back. Yep, we've shattered the bow levy, and I'm really just using these attendants here to bring enemy forces into range, and that just breaks the morale of these guys because they no longer feel secure, and just little patches of troops like that will just shatter. Very, very useful for aggressive posturing if the enemy have reformed, is just dispatch a unit, run him halfway. That'll usually be enough to make that unit shatter and just take them out of the fight completely, especially if they're unsupported on the flanks like that. Not much happening on this side. I'm focusing primarily over here, but they're just about... another unit has shattered, so at this point I believe they're completely out of bows. It looks like they are. So there's no ranged units available to interfere now. So you just bring the forces up and continue the fight. Now we've taken some casualties, 60, so we've lost about a third of our bow units for all of their bows, which I think is a fair trade, especially now considering the level of damage we're going to be able to do just to finish them off. Fire is always pretty, and somewhat effective against the heavily armoured Naginata attendants. Really, that's the best we're going to get out of the Naginata attendants, because the regular bow fire from bow levy, as you can see, it just does very, very little, especially compared to the devastation that is the fire arrows. However, the reason we're shooting the Naginata attendants rather than Naginata levy garrison, or the regular levy, is that the Naginata attendants have decent combat statistics and decent morale, so they're going to be more difficult to rout. So if we can just take off maybe a third of the units, then when we charge we should take off maybe another quarter of those units, and they should be low enough on men that they rout. With those routing, the levy garrison basically will just immediately run with very, very little fighting at all. So these guys, they're not in range yet, but the objective will be to just bring the pressure on this side, bring them up maybe about to here, and just start put shots into these Naginata levy garrison and just soften up this flank. The reason I want this flank softened up is I just don't want to be enveloped. Since I've collapsed this left side here, I bring my troops up, and we're just going to be able to envelop here with these levy, and all the way along here. So we basically have a full battle line to match their battle line. Now, I really want the levy to be doing most of the fighting in the initial charge, and the reason for this is I want them to be taking the casualties. They're the easiest of the units to replenish, and that's quite important. You'll notice that my levy have low morale, and these are the levy that Shigehira's. The reason they have low morale is that he has his wife gives him 10% less upkeep for the units under his control, but also -1 morale. So I really probably shouldn't be leading with the low morale Nanganada levy. It's not much better than their morale. But nevertheless, I want them to be taking the casualties. Now they've tried to take these guys out, but as soon as they get within range of the enemy troops, they're non-supported, they just decide they want to get the hell out of here. So we want to put some more shots in and basically make sure they don't come back. And they have reformed, but I really don't think they're going to survive a second. Yeah, there they go, shattered. And, alright. It's go time. They're critically weakened, so we send up the levy and immediately shatter those attendants. And now we just bring the whole army up, and really this should be over fairly quickly now that the actual combat has started. Even though these units have a significant amount of morale, a significant number of men, their low morale will basically mean that they just won't hang around in the fight, especially once armed men arrive. Now these levy, first in the fight, are taking a bit of beating, but as you can see they're clumping up, and even though they're clumping up, some of them are wavering, and they've really only just started the fight. As soon as these Naginata attendants come in from the side here, we should start to see morale dropping across the board. Now we've rallied in order to ensure that our low morale men don't rout, and this is important. And as you can see, we've got routing immediately here. These attendants are gone. Even with the rally, our levy are a bit concerned, but we're bringing in men from the rear, and as soon as those men start to threaten the flanks, you'll notice that all of their units have basically shattered. So immediately, due to their low morale, the fact that we just brought a single unit in round the side, their entire army has run away. Now with the running away, we'll be able to inflict a lot of casualties on them as they retreat, and that should cause the guys that are broken to instead shatter, and you can just see them, all the flags popping away, and this fight is now basically over. So morale was absolutely critical to that one, and even though we were attacking a fortified position, that with an inferior force, with superior play, and utilizing all our available agents, we were able to turn this into an exceptional victory. Thanks for watching, everybody.